Hello everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. In today's video we will be making this beautiful pink dress. I recreated mine in red and it looks so beautiful as you can see on me. If this is something you're interested in, keep on watching and let us get started with this video. Okay guys, to make this dress you will need two different fabrics, one crepe and one lace. So this lace here is a type of chantilly lace and I got just 1 yard of it, and for the crepe fabric I got 2 yards. So this is what I'm going to be using to make this dress. So first we are going to draft out our basic dress pattern. I have my pattern paper folded into two and I'm going to start by drawing out a straight line, which is the starting line. From this starting line or shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and measure down to my bust point and draw a straight line across. Now you're going to measure from the shoulder again down to your waist. For me, shoulder to waist is somewhere around here and I'm going to mark it. And then also draw a straight line across. Next, you're going to measure from your shoulder to your hip and draw a straight line across as well. So now the last line is going to be from your shoulder down to the length you want this dress to be. So I'm just going to mark mine here at 35 and draw a straight line across as well. So now let's just label the line: shoulder line, bust line, waistline, hip line, and then hemline. So this is us trying to draft a basic dress pattern. I would have omitted this part, but I just feel like a couple of people might not know how to do this, so let's just go ahead. So now for the neckline, I'm going to go in by about less than 3 inches and then come down as well by less than 3 inches. Now this is going to be done by yourself. You have to determine how wide you want your neckline to be for this, because it's going to be a turtle neckline. At the end of the day, if you watch the video before this where I shared with you guys the neckline part of this dress, I told you guys that I ended up using 2 inches depth and 2 inches width for this neckline. So you have to check that video to be very sure what to use for the neckline, because this is a turtleneck dress. Now after that, from the center, go in by half of your shoulder measurement and come down from that point for your shoulder slope, and then draw it to the neckline like I've done now. Then the next thing I'm going to do is from the shoulder slope, I'm going to measure down to my armhole depth, which is calculated on the screen right now. Divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to what you get. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it here and draw a straight line across. So now this is our chest line. So now from the shoulder slope, I'm going to draw a straight line to meet the chest line, and I'm going to get the midpoint of this straight line and go in by ½ an inch from that point. And then on the chest line, mark your bust measurement divided by 4, which I'm marking here. And now I'm going to connect all these 3 points together to give me my armhole curve. I'm a little bit fast here because I do this a lot on the channel and this video is already very long. Now from the center, on the bust line, go in by half of your nipple to nipple measurement. Mark it also on the waistline, on the hip line, and you can also mark it on the hemline as well. So I went ahead to join all these points together to give me a straight line. Now on the waistline, you're going to take in your dart. So I'm going to go out on both sides by ½ an inch. And then from the bust line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect these 2 points to meet the 1 inch I came down by on the bust line. So just like I'm doing like this. Now this dart is going to be quite different. Instead of going ahead to do the bottom part of the dart, we're going to take the dart line all the way to the end. So from the center to one of the dart legs, I marked 3 inches. So I'm taking these 3 inches all the way to the end. So from this dart leg here, I'm going to just connect all the points to give me a straight line. If you can do this without actually marking it, you can go ahead and do it. So from here, I'll just mark as well to just make sure everything is straight on this dart leg and take it all the way straight down. If you notice the way this dress is, you will know that the dart went from the top all the way to the end of the dress. So this is how you will mark it out. So now we're going to add our body measurement. On the waistline, my waist measurement divided by 4, and then I'm replacing the dart. On the hip line, my hip measurement divided by 4, I'm going to mark it here, and because there's a dart here, I'm going to also replace the dart. And now on the hemline, I'm going to be adding 1 inch to what I have here on the hip. So here I have 10 inches. I'm going to mark 11 on the hem. This is just because we want the end of the skirt to open up a little bit. It's not going to be tight at the end, so add 1 inch to what you have on your hip. So now I'm going to connect all the points together to give me my body shape. So from the chest to the waist, from waist to hip, and then from the hip line to the hemline. So I'm going to be using a different curve, just like this. So yeah, this is what your pattern should look like. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I noticed that this area where I was showing you guys how to go about the cutting of the neckline did not film after I was done cutting it out, so I'm going to explain it to you guys here. So at this point, I've already cut out the neckline, which is going to be the yoke area. So this is our dress pattern. Let's assume we have not cut it out yet. This is what it's supposed to look like. So basically what I did was that from the neckline area here, remember this is the bust line, okay, I decided to go up from the bust line by about 1 inch because I didn't want the neckline to be too open. Okay, so from this 1 inch point, I curved it into the armhole. So basically you just put your ruler like this from the 1 inch that you came up by, and then curve it. Make sure it goes into the armhole. You can go up more in the armhole, you can reduce it, but just curve it into the armhole with your marker, and then just go ahead and cut it out. That was what I did at this particular point that my camera actually did not capture. So once you go ahead and cut it out, you're going to have your yoke and the body of the dress looking like this. I actually hope that you guys understand. So we're going to go ahead now and use this to cut out on our fabric. So you're going to fold your lace fabric into two and place the pattern paper on the center fold and pin it down. Now you're going to bring the body of the dress and arrange it just like I've done. You can pin it down as well. Then you're going to go ahead and cut the full armhole just like I'm doing like this. Cut out the full armhole. This is the front we are trying to cut. Then on the shoulder area, don't cut it exactly, give it about half an inch stitching allowance, and on the neckline as well, give it about half an inch stitching allowance. Then you're going to come to the side and give it about 1.5 inch stitching allowance and cut it till you get to the waist. So now when you get to the waist, cut in and remove the pattern paper and just go ahead and cut it out. So this is how you're going to go about the yoke for the front. I'm going to show you guys how to go about the sewing later. So let's go ahead and cut out the body. So now for the front pattern, the body of the dress, fold your crepe into two and place your pattern paper like I've done here. Go ahead and pin it down. And then for the armhole area, don't add any allowance, but for the neckline, add about half an inch stitching allowance like I've done here. And for the side, also add about 1.5 inch stitching allowance just like we did on the lace just now. And at this end, add about 2 inches of stitching allowance. So this is all for the front. Now to draft out the back, I have my fabric in two as well, and I have drawn a straight line across for my zipper allowance. The distance from here to here is 1.5 inch. So go ahead and place your front pattern exactly on the line that you drew, and then trace your front pattern into the back just like you see me doing like this. So all the allowances that you've given the front, just go ahead and just transfer them into the back pattern. So now the only difference between the front and the back is going to be the zipper allowance. So on the waistline, like I've done here, extend the line into the zipper allowance and go in by half an inch. Then just curve this area up and down like I've done and go ahead and cut it out. This is going to prevent your zipper from bulging at the back of this dress. Okay, for the back yoke, you need to also fold your fabric into two. We're going to be using a front yoke pattern as well, but we'll be cutting it differently. So I'm just cutting all the way around this pattern paper, added half an inch to the end and to the shoulders. Now for the back neckline, just come down by about 1 inch from where the pattern paper started and just use it to create the neckline. You know the back is going to have a high neckline, so it cannot be the same as the front. And now also for the center back, we are going to be adding 1.5 inch of stitching allowance to the center back because it's going to have a zipper, even the yoke area as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out just like you see me doing like this. So you're literally just using the front yoke to cut out the back, but you just make some little differences to it. Now for the body of the dress, I've gone ahead to cut out my lining, but for the lining I made it 1 inch shorter than my actual fabric. This is going to prevent the lining from coming out under the dress when we're done making it. So you're going to place the lining and the actual fabric right sides facing each other, and I'm going to start from the neckline and just go ahead and pin it down. After pinning down the neckline, you're going to come to the end and align the actual fabric and lining, despite the fact that the lining is shorter, but just go ahead and align the both of them and just pin it all the way to the end as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch down this area and this area here, and then I'll align my armhole to be perfectly the same. You will notice that some part of the actual fabric will come up a little bit at the back. That's how it's supposed to be. So just go ahead and stitch the sides down despite the fact that it's coming up. I'm done stitching it down, and this is what it looks like. You can see how the actual fabric comes up a little bit at the back. So this is all for the front for now. Now I'm going to bring in my pattern paper and align it perfectly. You can see what I have. So I have to mark the areas now that I'm going to stitch down my dart. So I'll just measure the dart into the actual fabric. So I'll just measure what I have here and just replace it into the actual fabric. And then from this point, I'm just going to pick up like this and go ahead and stitch down my dart. So this is a different type of dart because we're going to take it all the way to the end. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and stitch my dart all the way to the end and do the same thing on the other side. So guys, I'm done stitching it dart, and while I was about to stitch it, I took a closer look at the dress we are trying to recreate and realized that the dart actually started from the under bust and not the bust point. So I just went down from my bust point by about 2 inches and then started stitching down my dart from there. It's actually very easy. So guys, to attach this yoke that will end up looking like you are wearing a blouse under, all you have to do is to now align your body of the dress with the yoke exactly on the armhole. It's the armhole you will use to align this, and then go ahead and pin it down. So this way, when you wear the dress, it's going to give that effect like you're putting on a blouse and then the top is under. After arranging everything, you can bring your yoke on it again just to be sure that it's well aligned, and then you just go over to the sewing machine and top stitch all the areas that you have pinned down. So guys, I'm done making the top stitches. To secure this in place, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the excesses that I have on the side of the lace. So this is what I have, and this is what the back is looking like. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and leave this aside and work on the back pattern. For the back pattern, I've already also cut out the lining pieces and it's shorter by 1 inch. The yoke for the back was cut out the normal way, you can remember. So we're going to be placing it the normal way we go about yoke. So I'm going to be placing it here like this on this part of the back. So you just turn it over like I've done here, and it's going to be stitched around the neckline. So now you're going to cover this up with your lining like I've done. So the lace is going to be in between the lining and the actual fabric. So you're going to start pinning it down, and you'll notice that because of the shape of the lace is not straight, so you will need to be aligning the lace as you pin it along. So you can see how I'm going about it. So just go ahead and do the same thing and pin it down all the way to the end. You must align the lace with the other two fabrics. Okay, so once you're done pinning it down, this is what it should look like. If you turn it over just to be sure, you'll see how the yoke is already fitting in perfectly. So I'm going to turn this over to the sewing machine and stitch down that neckline area. And then for the end, we are going to just align it as well like this and pin it down just like you see me doing like this. I'm going to stitch down this area as well, and then align the armhole and stitch down the sides just like I did in front. So I'm done stitching it down now, and I also went ahead to stitch down the sides and the dart as well for the back. So you can see the full back is ready and it looks very neat, and I went ahead to iron it out as well. So these are the two sides of the back. So now I want to join the front and the back together on the shoulder. So you're going to bring the front piece and then place the back pieces on it, right sides facing each other. Now if you did not place your front yoke properly in the beginning, this is where you will notice that maybe the front is longer than the back, or the armhole is not aligning and all of that. But you can see how this is perfectly the same despite the fact that we went about the yoke separately. So I'm going ahead now to pin the shoulders down just like you see me doing like this, And we are just going to go over to the sewing machine and just stitch down the shoulder areas with just half of an inch stitching allowance. So guys, I'm done stitching it down and the shoulders are ready. Now I'm going to turn this dress over to the wrong side, and I'm going to pin the zipper allowance area together just like you see me doing like this. Next, you're going to be fixing a zipper to the center back. This is the closest color I have, so I'm just going to manage it. So I marked the area where I want my zipper to end, and from that point I'm going to just draw down to like about 3 to 4 inches away from the end of the dress. So I'm just going to be stitching down the area I marked, and the upper part is going to be for our zipper, and then the opening at the end will be for the slit. Okay guys, so I fixed the zipper to the upper part, and this area is the slit area, and you can see how far we've gone. In my last tutorial I shared with you guys how I went about the turtle neckline for this dress, so I'm not going to be showing that in this video, but this is just a little part of me sewing the turtle neckline into the dress. So you need to see that particular video and come back here to actually continue with this tutorial. I wanted that video to be very detailed, that was why I made it separate. So go ahead and see that video on how to go about a perfect turtle neckline. So this is what it looks like after I was done sewing it, so you definitely need to check that tutorial. It is very detailed. Now for the sleeve, I have a basic long sleeve pattern here that I'm going to be using to cut out the sleeve. So from the top of my sleeve, I am going to measure down to 20 inches, and I'm going to be drawing a straight line across this point. Okay, next I'm going to get the middle point of this new line that I just created, and I'm just going to be using my tape to get this midpoint. So I'll just mark the midpoint here, and I'm going to draw a straight line to the end of the sleeve. So now the next thing we want to do is to cut through this line that we just got like this to the first line, and then go ahead and cut towards the side of the sleeve. We're just trying to be able to open up the end of this sleeve so that it has that flare look that you see on the sleeve of this dress. So you're not going to open this up entirely, so you just want a situation whereby it's movable, and that's okay. So now you're going to fold your sleeve fabric into 4. Okay, after drafting out the pattern, go ahead and fold your fabric into 4 and place the sleeve on it just like I'm doing like this. So you're going to be able to spread that other piece out so that you'll be able to have a flare at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down, and I'm going to cut it out. Now I've already added stitching allowance to the body of the sleeve, so I'll just be adding half an inch to the top, and that's all. So just go ahead and do what I'm doing here on your own fabric. So guys, this is it. I'm done cutting out the sleeve, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to be attaching it to the body of the dress. So I just trimmed off the armhole to look perfect like you see. So I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and just attach my sleeves to the armhole area on both sides. So guys, I'm done attaching the sleeves, and this is what it looks like. So the last part now is for us to go ahead and join the sides. So I'm going to turn this over to the wrong side, and I'm just going to pin down the sides and then go ahead and stitch it down. Make sure to use your body measurement for this stitch. So after I was done stitching it down, this is what it looks like, and this is what the back of the dress is looking like. It's a very simple dress, and it's really very beautiful. Yeah, that's all for the making of this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.